Just a moment. Just at 7 o'clock. And so if I can call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the gallery and to the evening's meeting. Council, could I call upon you to move approval of the agenda, please? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley. Any additions, changes, deletions tonight? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, can I put forward resolutions 9C, and the addition will be to resolution to include Mayor Broughton in the Infrastructure Committee.
Okay. Okay, any other additions?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's two items. One is to, two recommendations come from the Committee of the Whole. One is to award a contract to DLO, and the other one is to award a contract to DMC.
Okay, thank you very much. DMC. Okay, any other additions? Seeing none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then, and I don't have the listing, if I can impose upon you, Councillor Bain, for public participation. Thank you. And in public participation, we allow up to 2 minutes per speaker and up to 10 minutes overall, and for our delegations, up to 10 minutes for the delegation, and if council wishes to detain you with questions, that's their pleasure. If we can begin with Susan, public cover under public participation. Susan?
My name is Susan Public Cover. I live at 40 Islewood Place with my husband Nelson. He's sitting right here. We're here before the council and village community this evening to publicly bring attention to and seek answers for the huge expansive devastation that recently occurred at the head of our lovely street. For the first actual view of the for us, the first actual view occurred on Wednesday evening, April 9th at about 5:30 p.m. Upon a return from a brief holiday, we found numerous trees topped and removed, the accurate number of which is difficult to determine. Neighbors on our street, for whom we also speak this evening, describe this devastation as looking like a war zone, the site of a plane crash, eyesore, shocking, tragedy, horrifying, and more. All of these comments are from members of a community that obviously takes great pride in beautiful entrances, and for example, look at the community daffodil bulb plantings and other beautiful spaces that everyone, residents and visitors alike, can enjoy all year round. The entrance to Islewood Place is no different than any other of these entrances or spaces in the community. In addition to the destruction of the trees, we are very shocked that our neighbors have been told by the village office and Mr. Michael Broughton that we gave permission for this devastation to occur, which is categorically untrue. We want dissemination of this misinformation to stop immediately. We would never presume to give permission for tree removal or cutting on property that is not ours, nor would we do so for municipal property. Since we bought our home over 6 years ago, we have wanted to be responsible members of our community, confer with neighbors, and abide by community bylaws. Mr. Broughton first mentioned to me that he wanted to trim trees last fall when I was at the store. He told me that he was concerned about a maple and a Doug fir blocking the view from there. He even pointed in the direction of what is now devastation from the store parking lot. But my husband and I were honestly never sure exactly which couple of trees he was referring to. Between then and when we left on our brief holiday, we chatted with him at the store occasionally and exchanged emails, which we will provide at next council's meeting at a more complete presentation. All along he stated he would closely work with us and our neighbors on Islewood before anything would be done. Just a couple of days after we left on holiday, the cutting began, and just a couple of days before we returned, the cutting was completed. We were never called, no one came by our home to discuss the cutting. Some time ago, we also wrote to Mr. Broughton about our concern over the stability of the slope in the event trees were removed. He assured us in an email he would not remove trees. With the recent devastation of vegetation and potential subsequent death of the trees that remain, we and our neighbors are very concerned about the stability of the slope, not only because of the tree cutting and removal, but also as a result of the tremendous amount of debris, deadfall, that has been left on the slope, which will likely prevent other vegetation like ferns to normally grow, thereby destabilizing the vertical slope. Will erosion be creeping toward our property? Will the street collapse? There are municipal easements along the streets in the village. We would like to know where the easements extend along our street. Are some of the cut trees on municipal land? If so, what processes were followed to obtain permission for cutting and tree removal? And that was all I had to say, and I'm more than willing to give this to you for your record.
Sure. Let me just check in with the table to see, because I know that the next speaker is Nelson.
Yep.
Public cover, I'm assuming, on the same topic, the trees on private property. But if I think that I should just recuse myself here, because they're referring to my husband, Michael Broughton. So I think that
Okay, so
I'll
who's
have...
the- who's the-
Yes, sir.
The-
You want to take...
Thank you. Sir, please continue. Yep.
Okay, as you heard, my wife and I had discussions with Michael regarding a single maple and a single fir tree. After the cutting occurred, Michael gave us a copy of an email addressed to John and Michelle Hovel, asking, and I quote, could we go ahead with taking out the maples, topping 3 cedars that had been previously topped, and trimming and spiraling, again quoting, a fir tree directly opposite the postal area of the store. 3 cedars, 1 fir, okay? What actually happened? 17 cedars are topped. 25 fir trees are topped. An additional fir tree is windowed, not spiraled. 16 maples are topped. 8 unidentified trees are topped. There's nothing left of the tree. I can't identify what it is. 12 deciduous trees were cut off at the base. Just completely, they're cut over. The tree cutting extended over 70 meters along Isle. Since I provided this list to Michael, I hiked below and discovered that there are likely more trees that I have not been able to, that I did not identify. Nonetheless, almost 50 coniferous trees were affected. This compares to 1 that we discussed with Michael, or 4 that were discussed in the email with the Hovels. When we returned from our travels last week, we requested and have re-requested questions be answered in 3 areas. What was the process for authorizing the tree cutting? What parties are responsible? Repeatedly and in writing, from February to last week, we emphasized our concern over the issue of induced bank erosion affecting the integrity of both the road and our property. Okay? Secondly, in an email from Michael, it was stated that an arborist made a determination before cutting. Can we see that conclusion? A separate arborist should do a post-cutting assessment. I'm not an expert, but I grew up in Nova Scotia where coniferous trees have with no significant branches remaining, or whether they're topped or otherwise, they're essentially dead at that point when they don't have any branches left. The debris fields also inhibit regrowth. Third, we were told that cutting is not complete, where Ernst Baudur of the Ministry of Highways has been contacted. We want to know what additional devegetation is going to occur along the highway. Okay? Anywhere from Kelvin Grove to Brunswick Beach. We need to know this now, or we will track down Mr. Baudur and try to find out.
Thank you very much. Can we have a copy of yours? Is that okay? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, do you have copies of the emails?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you provide them to me?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Public Cover. And there's one more.
This is on.
Carol? You can get them here. Thank you.
I have copies to the table on the recording secretary.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Carol Conlon.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, I note that the CAO is listed on the agenda to give a report this evening, but there's no copy of the CAO's report in the council package. Will a copy of his report be added to the council package after he gives his report this evening? I wrote two letters to council on March 23rd and 24th. They are in the April 1st council package on the website, pages 161 and 179. First, I would like to know if council intends to respond to my letter, and if affirmative, when I might receive. Secondly, on March the 4th, the CAO, Grant McGrady, read a recent legal opinion on one aspect of Councillor McLaughlin's current conflict of interest regarding the council's selection of the CCR architect more than 27 months ago. Can council tell us what this initial legal opinion, read on March the 4th by the CAO for Councillor McLaughlin, has cost the taxpayers? And can council tell us if they are going to create a policy for providing conflict of interest legal advice to council members? The community charter suggests some guidelines and criteria for a municipal council if they do create a policy to provide legal advice to council members. In 2013, Secretary Treasurer Zaba reported that the legal cost of an opinion was $70 for the mayor's conflict of interest query he made on behalf of council. The legal opinion was the mayor was in conflict and she now recuses herself on topics related to the private strata lot store and cafe. We now have 2 members of the current council with conflicts of interest. Will council create a policy for providing conflict of interest legal advice to council members?
Mr. McGrady, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Madam
Ms.
Mayor.
Conlon.
Considering how much time this is taking, it's probably a pretty good idea for staff to prepare something and submit it for consideration of council.
Thank you very much. Most appreciated. If we can move along then to delegations and begin with Brent Lowen, our bylaw enforcement officer. Brent, can you come forward and introduce yourself? It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And a pleasure to meet you.
Podium?
Yes, please.
Sure, great. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Brent Lowen, as you may have just heard. And I've been appointed the Village of Lions Bay part-time bylaw enforcement officer. I will be on shift Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights from 5:30 to 10:30. So I'll be a familiar face roaming the streets of Lions Bay. So it'll be an extra set of ears, eyes, etc., and so on. I've been involved in healthcare for 32 years, predominantly in the pharmaceutical industry is my day job. And since about 2008, I've been involved in the security industry. I've worked for the Whitecaps, the Canucks, BC Lions, and Vancouver Convention Center. And I spent last summer, fall in Pacific Spirit Regional Park as a patroller enforcing bylaws, etc., and so on. So got a wide range of experience with from soup to nuts, literally. And I like people. I really enjoy working with people, and really I've got a soft touch, and I just want to be part of the community and just help keep everything running smoothly. Any questions? I'm happy to entertain. Yes.
Do you like dogs?
You know, I do, and I grew up spending time in the summer on farms. But I learned something very important. There are good dogs and bad dogs.
Bad owners.
And good owners and bad owners. And it's really interesting. And not being a current dog owner, I'm a bird guy right now. But hey, if there's rules in place, we'll just have to work with whatever's going on. I know in Pacific Spirit there was some real ambiguity of on and off leash areas, whether it was weekdays or weekends, and it was almost like having to be an interpreter of the regulations. So if things are clear and everybody's kind of on the same page, I think it should be easy peasy. Is that a fair assessment?
It is.
Yay. Anything else? Yes.
Do you like bears?
I saw that there's something about bears on this, and
I want to talk to you.
well, I actually watched a great documentary about bears just recently when I was in the Rockies a couple of weeks ago. Oh, I forgot to mention, my wife and I are snowshoe guides at Grouse Mountain. We've been there for 6 years. We live at the top of Lonsdale, so we're not locals, but we spend a lot of our time on Cypress, Seymour, and Grouse. We do a lot of hiking and outdoorsy kind of stuff. Bears. I've had some run-ins with bears. They've all been pleasant experiences.
I guess I could have asked, do you like garbage? Because that's kind of where the bylaw enforcement comes in. But we can check.
Well, we had to stop feeding birds in our backyard because bears were trashing our bird feeders. And one night I'm watching TV and I can see my picture window bowing in and out because Yogi's out there having a look at what's going on in my house. So it's pretty interesting. But happy to work with the community. I'm an easygoing guy. I love life, people, beautiful places. So I think we're off to a good start. So thanks to Mandy and the team for expressing their faith in me, and I hope I'll be a good member of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brent,
You're
for coming
welcome.
this evening and taking the time to introduce yourself to council.
My pleasure. And we're working on official uniforms, etc. So I will look good, crisp out in the community. You'll be proud of me. And yeah, we'll do well together.
Yeah,
And
I think
I'm
you'll-
going to excuse myself.
Okay, I think you'll find the community really welcomes you, and thank you for sharing your approach. So,
Anytime.
thank you so much, and thank you to staff for welcoming Brent in this manner. If I can move along to the Bear Smart Committee, and I think Brigitte van Krozik is here to speak on behalf of the Bear Smart Committee. Thank you very much, Brigitte.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilors, residents. I hope you liked how I snuck in a little bit there.
That was good.
We presented a memo, which I think you have in your materials, but I thought I'd start with just quoting then Environment Minister Terry Lake of the province when the Lions Bay was awarded Bear Smart status, and there was a ceremony up at the school, and we had a beautiful bear sculpture as well. The Environment Minister said, congratulations to residents and community leaders for making Lions Bay and Whistler safer for both people and bears. So Whistler was awarded at the same time, and Whistler and Lions Bay were the third and fourth communities in the province.
I think second and third. Yeah. Is it third
Okay, I
and
thought
fourth?
Squamish and Kamloops. but
Oh,
yeah.
maybe.
Anyway, we're right
Yeah,
up there.
Squamish, but yeah.
And these two communities earned their Bear Smart title by implementing bear-aware education, bear-proofing residential waste management, such as residential garbage totes and community bins, and making many other actions to reduce, taking many other actions to reduce bear-human conflict. And so Bear Smart, for those of you who may not be that familiar with it, it was a provincial program that was co-funded by the ministry, and it was also done through with the UBCM, the Union of BC Municipalities. And so it wasn't just sort of some residents who got together and thought that would be a great idea, even though there were lots of residents who thought that. But it came together with existing volunteers who had spent many years working on creating a safe environment for people, pets and bears and other wildlife in the community, and then came together as a committee of the council to work towards achieving Bear Smart status. The committee was formed in 2004, and Bear Smart status was awarded in 2011. And it's something that I think Lions Bay should really feel very proud over, what was achieved. And why I'm here today is to clarify a couple of things. One is a couple of things in terms of where are we at with our procedures, how are we addressing that we no longer are in compliance with the Bear Management Plan, and which is one of the components to achieve Bear Smart status, and how are we going to work together as volunteers and staff and crew and local government, because I have to be honest, some communication has not been working as well as it could, and while we fiddle around with that, bears come out, there might be things happening very, very soon. And so I'm here in order to open things up for questions and get things back on track, because I think it's really important. And I say in my memo that legal liability implications as well as financial and community impacts resulting from irregular communication and departures from the Lions Bear Management Plan. Not to wear my lawyer hat, but I could. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that we've achieved so much, and it needs to get back on track so that people who have spent a lot of work as volunteers don't sort of say, I can't I can't deal with it anymore because I'm not
Supportive.
having communication happening. So I would like to hear from the table, around the table, what your thoughts are about this, because one of the things was, like, there's been a lot of turnover, we need training, we have procedures. These should be part of office procedures, and I do realize
Yeah,
all the what's happening with the village hall and moving and
yeah.
renovations and all of that. But at the same time, this is their season now.
Maybe I could begin by just thanking you for being here, and just iterating how proud we are to be Bear Smart, and to be what that means for the community and what that means for bears in Lions Bay. It means live bears, so that's and very little human bear interface, but it does mean training, absolutely.
Yes.
And in speaking just briefly with staff about this, but specifically following receipt of former council member Ruth Simons, who's a Bear Smart leader as well, email, is just wanting to acknowledge staff's interest in two things, I think, that come up each year. So we have new staff, so that training, but refreshers are helpful too, because we have signage, a bear is sighted, we get the signage up, and our works crew is all part of that. So it's a whole team effort.
It is a team effort, and if you can incorporate into your answer, will it be necessary for us as a select committee of council to formalize and come as a delegation at council meetings only in order to communicate? I hope not.
No, in fact, I think that if I can just mention this, because again, we've discussed this with staff, I think that there's two things that have happened concurrently, and council, please chime in, or senior staff, is that there's been in fact, we had anticipated that likely tonight you would be discussing your application for funding.
This memo was sent a week ago.
No,
and
I've got it,
doesn't
yeah,
say- It doesn't say anything about funding
Okay,
there.
okay, not to worry.
Yeah.
But we do need to, if I can say to council, we probably need to add that though to our agenda this evening as a result of that. So, but certainly in my discussions with staff, and I'll call upon Mr. McGrado in a moment, is that be most pleased, in my discussions, I guess, with Ms. Kuntz, be most pleased to come together to have some staff refresher and training in Bear Smart Care. It just means everything runs smoothly, our vehicles have the right signage in them, and it's warning in the right places, not
So
in the
yeah,
wrong
people
places.
need to know what to do. And then the other thing that we need to discuss is also, because it is part of the bear management plan, I realized there were problems with the bear-proof dumpster that was by the fire hall, and it has been removed, and our committee has tried to have a conversation about how do we address that we are missing one part, and that was there in order for residents who were away on garbage collection day or for whatever reason did not have bear-proof storage for their garbage. That was part of how we said as a community that we would address waste management. And so we would like to have that discussion as well.
I think it would be helpful for you to be aware that it was an ongoing problem, and probably the way that it was a problem probably made it a bear attractant because people were depositing not in
I realize
but
this is
at.
why it was removed,
Yeah.
but also I think it was relatively recent that happened. We're not saying that there was no reason to remove
Yeah.
it. What we are saying is, how do we address it now that we don't have it?
Okay, if I can just turn to Mr. McGrado to see if there's any more, any further comments, and then to see if there's any comments from
Absolutely,
council, and
thank
then
you.
we'll move on to the next delegation, if that's okay. The one outstanding piece, though, that I might say is that whether we should be putting this on our agenda, but the outstanding piece is the Bear Smart Committee funding request. And I didn't
Yeah.
hear that tonight, and I was kind of anticipating that a little bit because of the new system and it not getting into the mix, and our 5-year plan going to public hearing tomorrow night. So if that's something that after Mr.
Well,
McGrado's comments that you might be able to just mention a sum, and with council's permission I might put that on the agenda.
Yes.
So Mr.
Through
McGrado?
I would be pleased to sit down and learn, whatever information you can provide us. the onus needs, and from my opinion, the onus needs to be on the resident. But, you know, let's see what we can do.
No, not in this case.
Well, what we're doing is that the taxpayer is providing anyways, we can discuss this later. We're talking about the
Just the
garbage can.
training, yeah.
But the training
sorry,
would be
the
wonderful.
training,
It'd be
yeah.
great.
No, the training, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what you mean by onus on
Could
the
I,
resident.
could I chime in
Yes,
on that,
please
please?
do.
I'm on the Bear Smart Committee, and I started with it when they started together in 2004. There is no question about the support by this council and previous councils straight across the board for Bear Smart. We have a new system that was implemented this year, and regrettably, some cracks were open, and Bear Smart fell through it, and we apologize for that. But there will be, as far as the funding, this is not in any way an outreach to community groups to come back because they didn't get a chance to do it, whatever. Bear Smart community, the Bear Smart status that we have for the information of the gallery and all of us, I should say that we are the only community where it was all volunteer and not hired in order to establish that, and that's to the, and it has achieved tremendous success with education through the schools. The schools have educated the children children have educated their parents, and on it goes. And we have a system that does work within the village as far as what we should do so that bears are not killed and do not appear. We insulate ourselves against that. Having said all that, because there was a new system instituted this year as far as next year's budget is concerned, I'd like Brigitte to put this in your hands, please, for the future, because you'll find that it may be required to fill out, but as just a method. But
Yes, I know in the previous budget, I think we had $500, and that was to fund
500, was it? Yeah.
education.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what we remember.
I have to admit that I tried to verify the figure,
Yes.
and so if I can get back to you tomorrow with that, because
That's good.
I know, I also
I c-
remember a different figure, and I want to make sure that it's the right one.
I believe I can confirm that up to 2012, it was $500,
Yeah.
and for
Yes.
some reason you didn't put forward an application last year, which may be why
Yes,
this
Yeah.
was mixed
yeah.
this year. I'm
We
looking at
have,
the
we
CFO in
certainly-
the
we
back row
certainly
right
have
now,
education,
and just confirming that for
we
you.
certainly have education activities planned for this year.
Yeah, I understand that. So, with council's permission, I might suggest that we put 9F on the agenda as Bear Smart Committee funding. If in fact, Ms. Von Kozak, you're confirming that it's a $500 grant, the same as the previous grant that you would be requesting.
Well,
And then-
with the caveat that.
There was 2012. There was nothing in
Well,
2013 for
yeah.
whatever
One
reason.
of the problems is, which goes back several years, was that there was a discrepancy in the accounting. And it was Norma Rogers who had been working with different staff members to try to trace that accounting. So I don't want to be seen as saying that we're saying all of that is fine, because I think that is still a little bit outstanding. But in terms of new money for our activities, I believe the number was $500.
Okay. Let me, if I can just turn to council,
Yeah.
and then thank you very much for your delegation time and presentation before us. Would it be fine with council for me to add 9F at this time for council discussion? That is under resolutions. It doesn't mean that council will resolve anything this evening, but I'll just put it forward to council as it may be timely.
It's okay.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I put the 500 forward for
Oh.
Bear Smart.
As a resolution right now, to go
F.
into the
Yep.
5-year plan. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you very much, Councillor Ronsley. Is there any discussion on that? We've had quite a lot of discussion about this for the gallery's information and knowledge. This isn't something that's just come up. So could I call question on that motion then, Council? And all those in favor? carried unanimously, so we won't add it later in the agenda,
Changed.
and it's done. Could I then go to the next delegation, which is Mateo?
Excuse me, Mayor Broughton, may I just, excuse me a moment, please? Perhaps if you can, if there's more information that should come to the office, it would be very much appreciated as far as past funding, whatever.
Yes, it's just that outstanding issue's been going on for a couple of years.
Good,
so-
okay, thank you for doing all that research.
Thank you very much. Mateo Seo, Sea to Sky Soils.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council, thank you, staff, for giving us the opportunity to come and make a presentation today.
Welcome.
I'm Mateo Osejo, a professional engineer and one of the owners of Sea to Sky Soils. Also an owner of a company called Net Zero Waste that has a number of compost facilities in the area. And I brought Peter Ladner with me as well today. Peter's a publisher and author, former Vancouver councillor, was on the Waste Management Committee, and has recently taken an interest in obviously changing how we feed our cities and urban farming, which is a huge movement in Vancouver and everywhere where there's healthy soil. So Peter and I are going to each take 5 minutes to present to you. JJ is a certified organic farmer. He has a farm up in Pemberton Valley. He's also the operator who looks after the compost facility up near Whistler.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Oh,
Mateo.
okay, absolutely.
I'm Mayor, councilors, staff, and guests. I'm just here to kind of set the stage for what Mateo's going to get into more detail about, and say that I've been working with Mateo just quite recently because I've been very excited by what he offers through his composting facilities. I've seen these in operation. They really work, and they are, by the way, one of the technologies that was originally approved by Metro Vancouver because they went and saw the operation in Everett and were so impressed. And then, for various reasons we're not going to do here, it fell off the table even after being approved. And it never got built, but there are others been built around, and Mateo can tell you about that. But the benefits that I see to your community, I know you're, like all the other communities in Metro Van, under pressure to get your organics out of the waste stream by 2015. And I see an opportunity to do this in the best possible way. One way is to reduce your costs of disposal. Instead of having to ship your stuff to Cache Creek, you're only going to ship it just north of Whistler. You're going to be able to, through his proposal, separate your organic waste from, won't get mixed up with biofuels and other waste that contaminate it and make it impossible to use on farms. The product that he ends up with in Rutherford, north of Whistler, is something that's suitable for organic farms. It's a beautiful compost, and it really gets the highest value out of your food waste. And it also, for what it's worth, contributes to local food production. I know this isn't a farming area or anything right here, but
We have a
I
community
know you have a
garden.
community garden, and there's a lineup for it, like all community gardens. And next to processing your waste in your own backyard, literally, the next best thing is to get it done close to home and be able to bring it back to use in the community and however you want to do it. And of course, you're going to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions from all that trucking up to Cache Creek and dependence on those long hauls, as well as helping the farmers in Pemberton, because now, instead of having to get their soil from the Fraser Valley and all those trucks go up through your community, they can get it directly from the composting facility at Rutherford. And in that way also provide jobs for people like JJ and really start to get you more into the circular economy, which I think would be in tune with your goal of becoming a leader among municipalities and creating a sustainable community for future generations. And so just my final point would be that you also, if you want to do something with Mateo and Net Zero Waste, have an opportunity to take advantage of a privately financed waste facility that's already in operation, proven, certified, part of the plan in the Squamish Regional District, and there's no capital cost to you. It's just a matter of figuring out how to make it work for your hauling and pickup fees. So we'll turn it over to Mateo, and he can give you the details and answer some questions.
Thanks, Peter. So we'll just quickly go through this little presentation here and give you a bit of a history on how we got a compost facility going. This basically summarizes what happened, but essentially, in summary, since 2007, there's been a need and a discussion around organic waste recycling in the SLRD. And since that time, we've worked with staff until in 2013, we've had our facility now included in the solid waste management plan for the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District. Since that time, we've also worked with the communities in the area and are now getting all of the food waste, which is collected in the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, brought to our facility for composting. I don't know if you've been given a copy of the proposal, but this text might be easier to read for that than that. Anyway, what we've shown here is what we're focusing on, which is farming and food waste. And this is a lot different than what other businesses have done with waste. A lot of waste companies look at waste as just some sort of non-valuable resource and just trying to dispose of it in the lowest cost possible. But when that happens, when you do that with organic waste, is you end up with a low-value soil. And what we saw, I started building these facilities in 2001 for an engineering company. We built the first type of this facility in Edmonton, and since then I've been building them across North America. And in 2006, decided to start doing my own facilities. But what we saw was that when you start building infrastructure on organic recycling, if you don't make high-quality soil, you won't sell it. So we focused on the soil. We've got certified organic soil. The soil's certified for use on all these organic farms as an amendment to improve their productivity. We've got great exposure up in the Pemberton Valley, but nutrient-poor soils. And so what we've been able to see is that wherever we've created these facilities, this picture on the bottom is actually from Seychelles. You see small other boutique businesses, greenhouses. This is a small greenhouse that popped up after we built our compost facility that started using our soil there. These are some of the regional support letters. We've got SLRD Energy Task Force, the Lillooet Nation, the Pemberton Chamber of Commerce, Squamish Chamber of Commerce, Whistler Aware, Squamish Can, a bunch of certified organic farms that are in your package as well. So these are the people that we're trying to work with and have supported us over the last few years. So this has been an ongoing process for us. The problem is that the North Arm farm here, this is actually Jordan Sturdy's farm. He'll take all of our soil that we produce in a year just for his one farm. So, these farmers need a lot of amendment, and our problem has been not that the demand for the soil isn't there, it's all there, but there isn't enough input. So, even with the whole regional district of Squamish, Lillooet, there's only less than 40,000 people. So a community like Lions Bay is attractive to us because you're the closest one to us from Metro Vancouver. You're also one of the last ones who haven't implemented a program for curbside organic pickup. And you're small enough that it's easy for a smaller company like us to work with you, to instigate or to partner with you and to do a pickup and to recycle your waste and do something different. So there are 3 major facilities in Metro Vancouver. The largest is called Harvest Power, and they make a soil amendment that's sort of a low-grade, low-quality commercial blend, high volume. They do 200,000 tons. There's another one called EnviroSmart. They make a grass. They make a turf out of theirs. And then the rest are sort of, there's one all the way in Lytton, so sometimes the waste goes all that way. It never really leaves the site. What I call an organic landfill. So what we've tried to do here, we're partnered with places like the Vancouver Aquarium, with what they've done on their Ocean-Wise program. We're doing with a program called Waste-Wise. That we're trying to say that if you care about what happens to your waste, we'll give you this logo, this Waste-Wise logo. And that's coming up. We'll show you this is some of the commercial waste. That's the Waste-Wise logo. So a lot of restaurants that use Ocean-Wise are going to start using Waste-Wise to highlight that they're recycling their food waste for growing more food. And really that's what we found a great fit for with our facility up in this area because, like Peter mentioned, a lot of the farmers have to import their amendment. And this allows us to stop hauling trucks up full and back empty to the Fraser Valley, and actually all the garbage trucks that currently come down from Whistler and Pemberton, and even trucks that haul out carbon, come right past you to Surrey and travel back empty. And for a community your size, these types of efficiencies could make it very cheap to move waste out of the community. it might even be small enough that you wouldn't even need to transfer that amount of waste. You could just pick it up with the sort of curbside garbage truck and go straight back onto the facility. But essentially our next steps, are we've been working with making a community garden up there of our own. We're applying for grants to look at capturing the heat energy that comes out of the compost to heat greenhouses, and obviously working with all of those certified organic farms to distribute what little soil we have been able to make. So what we'd like to do is, if there's an interest from you, work with staff to implement a pilot program. This can be done because, like Peter mentioned, we've already built the facility, so it's a brownfield site. The band, actually, Mount Curry Band, used this site to make concrete barriers during the Sea to Sky Highway expansion. So it didn't cost us anything to develop the site from the beginning. We've simply added the composting infrastructure on top of it. So if you're interested in that, that's something we could follow up with. We've done it with Comox Valley Regional District, and within 60 days we were able to have the whole Comox and Cumberland recycling food and yard waste at the curb. So if there's any questions.
Can I open it up to council for questions? Councillor Bain?
I have a question. Curious. You probably have an answer. How do you manage to get it organic when you have no control over the supply? For example, if somebody has hormone-laced meat throwing in there.
That's right. This is a question that comes up often with the certified organic accreditation that we have. Ours isn't actually a certified organic status. That would only be something that you eat. We're considered a certified organic approved amendment for growing certified organic food. So typically, they'll go through a list of things that you're not allowed to have in the soil, like biosolids. And so this was our big argument with Whistler, because Whistler's facility, back on one of these earlier pictures I show it, it basically has a big claw, you can see at the top, and it picked a scoop of the food and a scoop of the biosolids and put them into the same vessel. So the problem is you're getting the biosolids, which is really clean. That's from the wastewater plant in the sense that it's clean, it doesn't have any plastic in it. You're contaminated with plastic that's in the curbside food, and you're then contaminating the food with the biosolids, and now you can't use it as a medium for growing food. So in our process, it essentially gets up to 80 degrees Celsius. It stays that hot for 2 months. Entire beef bones, will look like a bone after a month, but you step on them and they're just mush. So everything gets broken down. All the big complex carbon molecules get broken down until they're just little carbon and hydrogen and nitrogen molecules through that process. So it's an organic fertilizer. Use it on your houseplants, much like you would use a Miracle-Gro, the little pellets. Those are petrochemically based. So ours, you would just put some of this black soil on top of your houseplants and they'll just go crazy. I mean, if you were to use it for a houseplant, but we're obviously hoping to use it for food.
So it's a transport of the garbage to your facility. That would be our responsibility, and you would take it from there?
We could provide an all-in price for the pickup. Normally that's quoted on a price per household per pickup. So normally what municipalities will find is that you're not producing any more garbage, right? All you're trying to do is separate out the organic portion from the non-organic portion. So bears are often a concern, because people say, what happens about bears? Is it's going to be an attractant? We always say, no, you've already got the food waste in your garbage anyway. So if there's the odd incident with bears, you're going to still have the odd incident with bears. It's all about, educating people on when to put out their waste. And if you've got bear-proof containers, in many cases, what we'll do is recommend that become your organic container, and the other container become your garbage container, if you will. So that all your organics, your attractants are in the bear-proof container. And in some cases, in Abbotsford, we've had municipalities that haven't wanted to spend a lot of money on the program. You can qualify because it's a greenhouse gas reducing initiative for gas tax. I don't know if you get gas tax money, but you can use that for buying the bins.
Abbotsford does, but it's not a metro community.
Right.
We're a metro community, so we do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it goes directly to TransLink for
right,
everybody,
okay.
unfortunately. Reading about it tonight before this meeting once again.
But as an example, Abbotsford used stickers rather than actually buying everybody a new bin for the curb, which is about $65. You can just use a sticker to help people identify which is the bin that they've used for their compostable material. And so then what would happen, there's two ways that municipalities typically would put something like this to bid, and we welcome you to do that. But because the facility is already built, and because it would be relatively easy to start something quickly, you know, while you're going through that public process, we'd be happy to start with you sooner, is all we're saying, because it would really benefit us. You know, even the small community that you are, the amount of waste we would see would benefit our business. So there's two ways. One is either looking at a price per ton, and price per ton to the homeowner doesn't really equate, because you're not putting it anywhere near a ton at the curb, but you're paying $5 a pickup, and that's because most of the cost goes to the garbage company, who has to come with the truck, with the person to put it in the truck. I'd say that's about 80% of what we actually pay. But the price per ton that we charge is less than what West and North Vancouver are actually paying, which is $73.
73 or 68?
73 at the transfer station.
Okay, what is yours?
So, well, we charge, right now we're charging in the Whistler area, 56.
56.
But, you know, we're hoping, that was just introductory
Yeah.
pricing to try and
Totally.
get them to play ball with us. And
Yeah.
they are now, and they're seeing the benefits, but we'd like to be closer to the $70 number. But that's a very sustainable number, you know, and, you know, I mean, the problem is, I tell you these numbers, now we go to bid and everyone will have
Yeah.
it, but hopefully you'll see other benefits. You know, if somebody comes in at 69, maybe there'll still be reason to work together. That's why we'd like to start with something like this. But as an example, for Nanaimo charges $122. They just raised their rates.
Right.
Victoria's paying $140. That's in the paper now. So they're exporting their waste. Victoria tried to build a facility, and it actually wasn't a good facility. Not all compost facilities are built equally. It stunk. It got
Yeah, I
shut
was gonna
down.
say it's
So they have to
stunk.
haul it to Harvest Power with the ferries and everything else. That's $140. So the prices range, but on a price per ton level, we're definitely competitive. And because your municipality is small enough, we can also provide on a competitive rate for picking up all of the curbside waste. You know, because if it was Surrey or something, we'd need to have 20 trucks to pick it up. So with this, we have 2, and that's enough. Yeah. So, you know, this is another something that we could look at doing on a pilot scale for a short period of time over the spring and, you know, summer, when you have higher volumes of green waste. We don't recommend, another question to answer your question about certified organic, we don't recommend the addition of plastic bags. A lot of people like using plastic because they say the uck factor, you know, it's nice and tidy in their kitchen catcher and stuff. And the problem is, I mean, maybe this wouldn't be an issue in Lions Bay because your community is quite small and it'd be probably sort of very well educated compared to some of the other municipalities. But when you have on a program like this that's new and on the widespread implemented, you always want to start with, you know, more restrictions and then open things up if it's successful, instead of starting with everything being allowed in the program and then trying to say, okay, we don't want bathroom waste in there, or we don't want plastic bags. Because what happens is that people don't know what type of bag they're often using, Safeway or other types of non-compostable bags. So you just wrap it in the newspaper, it's a lower cost, wrap it in paper, or you put it with your yard waste, and the yard waste helps absorb if there's any liquid or anything there. You can use the compostable bag in the kitchen catcher, but we don't think that we've had a lot of success not using that with our municipalities. We have facilities in Sechelt, the one in Comox, Cumberland, Abbotsford, Chemainus.
Oh, this is great. I've got one possibly last question. And that is just around frequency. And I know that different communities are doing different things, and you know, you'd probably do it weekly, bi-weekly, etc. But a lot of communities seem to be going bi-weekly with secure. We have part of our bear care program is that our garbage is secure in Lions Bay. Every resident is responsible for garbage security.
That's really just a matter of cost, you know, if you do it weekly or bi-weekly, and convenience, because sometimes people say they don't like the smell that,
Yeah.
you know, so that's really just the way you can either choose to go bi-weekly. If often we found that encourages people to recycle, because if you do garbage bi-weekly and organics bi-weekly, you know, maybe you're already, I'm not sure what your frequency is for garbage, if it's weekly or bi-weekly, but then you have something getting picked up every week still. But if you're not recycling, you know, your garbage is going to smell after the 2 weeks, right? So you would keep alternating, and then you would theoretically lower your cost on garbage, which is what we would like to help you do, because our cost is much lower than.
Okay, this is certainly timely, so thank you very much for your presentation, and anything that you might like to add? No, really invaluable and all the points that you've made. So we are going to be looking at this, and as I say, this is very timely.
Perfect.
And really appreciate you coming out and
Appreciate
presenting
Thanks
this.
for having us.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thought we'll chat. Thank you.
If I can make one comment to Mr. Ladner in what you've seen up here, is that you really broke the paradigm of what I thought of as farming. And I've shared that with many people, that you can farm in the middle of a warehouse district with the right soil and the right equipment. It's just fascinating, the paradigm that you're presenting to all of sundry around the Lower Mainland. It's mind-blowing, quite frankly.
Thanks. Well, if we have more time, Theo could talk about some of the microgreens he's doing,
Oh.
with taking advantage of the heat and soil being right there, and you can start doing stuff right on site.
Very, very exciting. So thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very
I
much.
really appreciate that.
Great.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
on behalf of council, we'll take us back to our agenda and safe journey, and go to the special meeting of council minutes of March 13th, and have somebody move and second those minutes. If I could, thank you, Councillor McLaughlin, and a seconder, please. Councillor Vronsi, thank you so much. And any additions, changes, deletions to those minutes? Seeing none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go on to the minutes of the meeting held April 1st, 2014. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Ando and Councillor Bain. Any changes, additions, deletions to those minutes? Seeing none, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can then move along to the Climate Action Task Force reestablishment of the discussion. This is coming out of the minutes and coming out of the delegation from last, or I guess, I don't know whether it's a literature or delegation, but a communication from the April 1st meeting. And so this is a discussion that I'd asked if it could be brought forward to reestablish the Climate Action Task Force for looking at two things. One is the exploration of the green waste, environmentally friendly disposal. So looking at the committee to work with staff, but really do some research as to some ideas that they might bring forward. And secondly, with regard to organics, we do need to achieve that, and part of it is a communication process, looking at different options, and we obviously would tender no matter what the options are, but we didn't probably include all those options in the tender that council agrees to, but just also assisting us with the communication process to the community about whatever options we come up with. So I don't know what council, I'll just open it up for any discussion on council's part. It wasn't that it ended, we didn't end the committee, but it just, the mission maybe is renewed, if you like. And I see some head nodding from Mr. McGradu. So perhaps that's what we can do, is just acknowledge that there's a renewal of that mission. I know that Bruce Simons is away for the next couple of weeks, but we'll make sure that we communicate that. And I see Mr. Henshaw, who was an active member of that committee, in the audience tonight. And I think Ms. Conlon may have, no? No, oh, sorry to commandeer you. Okay, but yeah, that's right. Okay, so if I can leave that there and move along to unfinished business, and the community center, we'll call that renewal update.
Madam Mayor, that'll be discussed under resolution.
I thank you. Exactly. I thought this is a bit redundant at this point. If we can then, thank you very much, Ms. Kuntz, for noting that. And if we can go to dog bylaw 461 on-off leash locations, it was interesting to hear our new bylaw enforcement officer, Mr. Brent Lowen, discuss how we can be clearer about that. He certainly wasn't prompted by anybody. He may have reviewed our agenda, I don't know, but Certainly, one of the issues that was raised at the delegations that came before council last week, last meeting, regular meeting of council, was a query as to whether or not we could have the clarity of on off-leash locations. And what I think, if we could suggest to the folks who came before us and dog owner stakeholders here, if maybe some informal discussions could happen with the trailblazer leaders, and I see head nodding on Ms. Conlon's part. I think it's that informality, if that background research can be done and brought forward so that there's some clarity. But certainly we have clarity around the on-off leash locations right now as Marjorie Meadows and the Kelvin Grove first beach of the 2 beaches at Kelvin Grove. So the first one that you come across. And so maybe what we can do is communicate to the delegations that came last week, and I'm just putting this out to council, to ask them if they would undertake that in an informal discussions, and then see what their findings are. Does that make sense? We know what the current ones are. If there's an expansion of that, I know that it likely would be best if it's done in discussions with the trailblazer leaders. Yes, Councillor Bain?
Just to get my mind around this, you're suggesting there's
yeah, you're a dog owner. Yes.
well, not very experienced.
No. Yes.
But you're suggesting having the informal dialogues and then they would come to a bylaw review committee, is that?
Oh, that could even be a possibility rather than coming before council, or coming before council or the bylaw review. But having that information done, because otherwise I think we can get into a seesaw without the real discussions happening. So I don't know if you want to undertake to I'm not saying that to you because you spoke up, by the way, but because you have a new interest. If there's any interest in you taking that message back to the dog owners, that would be great. But otherwise, we can ask staff to communicate that.
Congratulations.
My dog is young, it's not to meet too many dogs yet.
Okay.
So I don't know too many
Okay.
owners.
No, that's great. I think the communication could be just that, if that informal discussion can occur. And,
Thank you, Councillor Bain.
Thank you. So if I can move us along, if that's okay, hearing no more from the table, to reports, and have council please move receipt of reports. Thank you, Councillor Ronsley and Councillor Bain. All those in favor of receipt? Opposed? Carried unanimously. If we can go to the interim CAO's report.
Madam Mayor, I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you so much. If I can move on to Mayor and Council's report, and I'll just start with my own report, if I may. And I brought this with me because I was at a couple of things to do with How Sound in the last couple of weeks, and one was the Boomer Bust LNG meeting at Quest University, which had about 400 attendees and 3 scientific or consultant presenters, and then the How Sound Aquatic Forum, which was held at Furry Creek with, I don't know, somewhere order of magnitude over 100 folks there, from First Nations to the aquarium to Quest University to provincial staff to 4 levels of government represented. And that was after Councillor Ronsley and I were at the Council of Council meetings, where I spoke to Lions Bay's opposition to incineration. So How Sound has a lot happening in it, and this is just a little document that has been put out by the Islands Trust just for them, but I thought it showed such a lovely picture of some of the things that we're working on. I thought I'd bring it with me tonight. Sea to Sky Corridor Safety, I did have a follow-up meeting with Miller Capilano on April the 2nd. And what he outlined was just what everybody who drives the area knows. There's the large chevron arrow signage, and the only thing that they've added is, I shouldn't put it that way, they have added 2 signs, one from the north and one from the south, and they're both larger sunburst signs with the 50 kilometers per hour. what I think we need to do is come together with ICBC and really look at how we can help inexperienced drivers, or all drivers, know how to drive when there's a surprise. Whether their car has met a surprise or the weather conditions have met a surprise, and really help all of our drivers not only know how to drive under regular conditions, but there was no black ice or anything like that, but just knowing how to correct your vehicle. If you've corrected in one direction and you might have overcorrected, how to correct that. And that really is driver education. And he really resounded with me because I did have one daughter go through a racing car additional level of driver training following a situation that was not her fault, but I really realized the skills that were developed in that other level of driver training, and so it was interesting that he was bringing that to the table. Yeah. So we'll try and take that further through further objectives, and I just thank you to Councillor Ronsley for joining me at what I'll call Brunswick North Park and seeing that perspective. So that's everything. Any questions or comments? Okay, there being none. I'll maybe go around again in alphabetical order if that's okay with Councillor Ronsley.
Certainly.
Okay.
How about the rest of us?
Councillor Ando? Okay. Councillor Bain?
And none of this time.
Okay. Councillor McLaughlin?
Nothing more.
Okay. Councillor Ronsley?
Well, I'll break
Floor
the
is
trend
yours.
here. The only thing that I'd like to, in my reports, and they're mostly up to date, but we have the Suites Review Committee is delayed to March 6th as far as their recommendations to council is concerned, this hard-working group. So stay tuned on that one. And when Mayor Broughton and I attended the council's meeting last Saturday, I think we all should appreciate the fact that Mayor Broughton took the mic in this large room with many attendants, and she pointed out that as they're expanding sites for waste to be included and dumped, they have not included house sound in that at all. And the sites are really, they're across our waters and around us, Port Moon on the Sunshine Coast and Delton and Nanaimo. So our strong advocate was there, and she mentioned that this has not been brought to the Metro Board. I think that will be altered. Hope
The Metro Board hasn't consulted with
it
us yet.
has that there's been not they've been left out. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, no, and that leaves us out, of course, in one way. So that was very good, and a very good meeting. And I should say, not anybody can take the mic, because a few people tried very hard, and it was only for the elected officials, and the others were put off or put down. So any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all of that work. If I can just comment that we received all reports, so that means that we've received the Lions Bay Historical Society, the Standing Committee on Finance, the Tree Committee, and the Infrastructure Committee's reports, and the Emergency Services report. Thank you very much, Councillor McLaughlin.
And might I make comment on the first three?
Yes, please.
Thank you. On the Historical Society, this small but very active and involved group of historians, as you can see from their the approved agenda, cuts a wide swath on many things, from the photographs of the outside map to other community involvement. And they are assisting in the relocation of the village office, taking some of the stuff away, and they're recognizing Alice and Michael Tickner. And I understand that June the 14th looks like it might be the preferred date, so that's a heads up on that.
Thank you.
On the Standing Committee on Finance, on table is the draft regular session before it went in camera, and then reporting out. The key pieces on that were that the previous Finance Advisory Committee minutes were February the 3rd, not March the 3rd. And the purpose of meeting was, and actually on the February 3rd, the purpose of the Finance Advisory Committee meeting at that time was to provide a recommendation on the provisional operating budget, which they did, and they have provided their recommendation on the 5-year plan, which is item 10, reporting out, which I'll read. The resident members have unanimously concurred to the draft 5-year capital and operating plan as presented by Mr. Suvarna, and compliments to Mr. Suvarna for an excellent presentation by all of the resident members, Mayor Bout and myself. That leads us to the Tree Committee, and the recommendation by the Tree Committee Chair is in the package. This is amicably resolved. The committee's in favor, and I'm ready to go to a resolution to provide this to council. That would be fine.
Okay, are you asking for a resolution right now?
Yes, I'm prepared to go.
Okay, if you could
On the
put
top.
forward the resolution.
Okay, so that it's regarding tree application number 5, be it resolved that tree application number 45 is approved by council as recommended by the Tree Committee.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you very much. I'd just like to make note that the property ownership was noted on this as being on the village property. So I think that that was the outstanding question for the council members. So any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along with that, with permission. Councillor Ando?
Yes, I'm putting forward the minutes from the Infrastructure Committee on February the 13th. There is one typographical error, or one section with a typographical error that I'd like to correct before they're finalized, if that's okay. On the 4th of 5 pages, number 10, public questions and comments, Councillor Bain commented that he liked, so add a D, the mandate to educate our residents. So instead of education, educate.
Yes,
And then he requested, so add he and add ed to requested in the second sentence. And then, other than that, I believe they're accurate.
Okay, that's great. Just on page 1, item 4, it's just again, the second to last bullet, Councillor McLaughlin asked Hay Cook, H-A-Y. So that's great, thank you so much. Let me just return to our agenda and move forward to resolutions. And we have a staff report on the resolution to appoint Chief Election Officer and the Deputy Chief Election Officer. Thank you very much. Mr. McBrady, would you like to speak to that?
through you, Madam Mayor, we've been determining whether we're going to be able to have the opportunity to conduct the election ourselves. This is going to take a fair amount of work leading up to the election. And I know that Ms. Kuntz and all of us are going to be very busy with the move in the office. And so what Ms. Kuntz has been doing is talking with different people about the potential of coming on and assisting us. Mm-hmm. Ms. Kuntz has talked with a number of different people, and she has interviewed Mr. Villegas, who has experience as an election officer, and the original quote was higher than what we expected. Ms. Kuntz did a very good job at being able to reduce that, and a fair amount of the preparatory work, administrative work, is going to be done internally, and we believe that we can move this forward. So we're recommending that Mr. Villegas be appointed as the CEO, and that Ms. Kuntz be appointed Deputy CEO to conduct the administer the 2014 general local election.
Excellent. As the Chief Election Officer and the Deputy Chief Election Officer, could I have somebody move and second? Thank you. Councillor Ronsley and Councillor Ando. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much for all the work on this, Ms. Coontz.
Is there more initials you can put behind your name?
Congratulations.
More initials you can put
More
behind your name.
initials. And the 9B. I think 9B,
Infrastructure master plan.
pardon me, yeah,
Infrastructure.
yeah. What I might recommend here is that the infrastructure, you can bring it forward, but that the infrastructure committee may wish to take this away, do more work on it, and then bring it forward for the 2015 budget process. And so that we can really prepare for it, because it's a major.
It's my understanding that there's money available to be able to do the infrastructure master plan, and I believe there is a sense of urgency both from acting Public Works Manager that he would like to go ahead with this, and the resident members of the Infrastructure Committee strongly support this recommendation to Council, that it should be done sooner rather than later. And so if the money's available, they'd rather not put it off until the 2015 year.
I think that there's consulting funds available for specific projects, but this type of plan will be a significant cost that I don't think we've had. The previous plan was a significant cost, so I'll see what council's wish is, but I don't think that there's those kinds of funds in the 2014 budget. I know that there's consulting funds there, but that would be a pretty significant piece.
It's, in my opinion, that the Infrastructure Committee is actually stalled at the moment, where we don't have a master plan for them to be able to help assist with. I see that their role now would be to develop with staff a proposal on what should be included in an infrastructure master plan. So if you postpone it to the 2015 budget, then basically you're going to lose another year, and the infrastructure is going to decay, for lack of a better word, or deteriorate by another year. So as we've now determined that there wasn't an infrastructure master plan done in 2005, 2006, we deem that it's now an appropriate time to do an infrastructure master plan, which is more encompassing, which would include roads, wastewater, plus perform other strategic studies. So I move this resolution, and if there isn't a seconder, then that's fine, but I'm happy to move this resolution and see what the thought is on council, if there's funds or if there isn't funds, or if you'd like to postpone, but whatever the will of council is, I can take that back to the infrastructure committee.
Okay, is there a seconder? There not being a seconder, what I'd recommend is that there's further discussion about it, because it's a fairly significant project. So, okay, if we can move along to the, yes, sorry.
Perhaps it would be helpful to take back to the infrastructure committee that this could certainly be on their recommendations when they finish their whatever all that they're doing. as a recommendation to council, because it's the mandate of all committees that are struck to bring bring recommendations back to council. I'm not arguing with you at all. I'm just saying I would like to see that message brought back as to confirm and appreciate what they are doing, and they do have an outlet to whatever the recommendations are. That should be one of them. And maybe that's helpful, and maybe it's not.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ando?
I provided a report to council at the April 1st meeting, and in that report it gave their support for the projects that were in the 2014 budget, but it made one recommendation, and the one recommendation was to move forward on this infrastructure plan, that it should be done this year. So if you reread my report, or you can
I
listen
did
to the
indeed.
tape, that recommendation is there from the infrastructure committee, even within the minutes, I believe.
Well, I would say, I'm not arguing at all,
Yeah,
and I
that's
did
fine.
carefully
I'm just-
read the report.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that that be part of their final report as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bain?
The problem I have with the resolution is I'd have a hard time voting or even moving it when I have no idea what it would cost at this time. But the second sentence of the resolution, I think is a great idea, but I think it should come first. That further that the infrastructure committee review, formulate, and recommend the scope of work in the infrastructure master plan, and bring it back to staff or council. And I think if I saw that, I feel more comfortable with looking into commissioning something.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Ando?
My opinion would be, but not having discussed it with them or not specifically asking them, would be that the preparation of the scope of work to be included in what they envision in an infrastructure master plan would be considerable. And I don't believe that they're very busy, and I don't believe that they wanted a commitment from council to a certain degree, that council would be willing to go forward having put in those hours. Council certainly still has the ultimate decision whether to accept that scope of work or not to accept that scope of work. But the amount of hours that it would take to prepare that kind of documentation that would be required to be comprehensive is substantial, and I think they wanted to get the feel of council whether or not it was going to move forward or not move forward. So I would take the message back and see what they determine.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Ando. If we can move along to item 9C.
Thank you, Mayor Broughton, and this is a resolution to appoint Mayor Broughton as Vice Chairman of the Infrastructure Committee. And I'm prepared to go read the resolution recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? This is, I guess, reflects back about a year ago of what was on the table. Any discussion? Thank you, Councillor Bain.
One of the things I like about the infrastructure committee is that there was very little council involvement in it, so that we could get from the residents a representative, well, you know what I mean, sort of skilled people advising council of what their take on the infrastructure needs of the community would be. And to me that is a valuable alongside or sort of para-council, aside council committee advising staff and council of things. And I think if we put more council into it, we lose some of the benefit to it. So I'm happy with Councillor Rando being the sole council member on it. We've got interim CAO McRadu there for staff input. And I think, for my way of thinking, that's sufficient. I'm quite happy with the way it is.
Any further discussion?
I,
Sure, Councillor
my thought in seconding the motion is that it would bring, I'm certainly very pleased with Councillor Ando. That is not the
Yeah,
issue
I
at all. I don't have that issue. The structure of a committee is indeed one member of council at least. But I wonder if the corporate knowledge that the mayor has wouldn't expedite the roles of the members and keep them enable them, perhaps is the word, to stay on the stay focused on what they should do. Now, I am in no way being critical of Councillor Ando or the committee.
No,
I'm just
he's doing
thinking
a
that
good job.
it might it might help. It might help, and I guess I would expect Councillor Ando to continue on as first,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Mayor Broughton, if it's the will of council, to be second and take the second role in position rather than controlling it.
Totally.
So that's my thinking
Excellent.
behind it at this point.
Councillor Ando?
I'd like to make an amendment to the
Sure.
resolution, please. If Mayor Broughton would like to be on the committee, then I'm happy to resign as chair, and you're welcome to be the chair of the committee. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that the body could stay apolitical, so.
I don't know what recommendation I might have at this point. I would say that that's very political. That kind of.
I can tell you that we, after a council meeting, that the 4 members
Yeah.
besides the mayor agreed that they wanted me to proceed with the infrastructure committee, and I did so on one condition. And so if that condition isn't met and it's not a threat, I'm happy to move aside and have somebody else take the committee. I have no qualms about that, and it's not political.
It's not political, it's conditional.
It's
Yeah, well,
The only thoughts that I have, I'll speak to council on this, is that the committee, there is, with so many changes in the village, there is infrastructure information that can be brought to bear, including about the 205 master plan. I mean, as of last February when we created the committee, I was to sit on it as vice chair. So I mean, I honestly, I'm at 6s and 7s as to what to say, except that this is a committee that has a lot of importance and lots of new energy to the committee, which I really applaud. There's a level of depth of work that needs to be done by a committee that would be helpful. So I'm sorry. Yeah.
Conditional and resolutions aside, I'd be thinking in terms of getting more horsepower, not less, out of
Yeah,
the
same
opportunity
here.
here. I put it forward as vice chair, seconded Councillor Rando as
Yeah.
chair. I could amend this quite easily as ex officio participation,
Yeah, sure.
that you
I'd be-
would not be able to vote.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And I would fail to see how that would be a political situation.
Yeah. It does mean that you sit at the table and you participate. And, yeah, I mean, I would be absolutely fine with that. It's,
And I think to me that actually respects your situation with 6 elected terms of knowledge.
yeah, it's one of those times in Lions Bay that we need a cross-pollination of information for sure.
When is the next committee meeting?
The date hasn't been determined.
Is that determined?
It
When-
was, 2 dates were put forth,
Yeah.
the 22nd and the 29th, and one committee member cannot make
Okay, that happens, I know that.
each one of the 2 meetings. So I'm looking at trying to find another date,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether interim CAO is able to make either of those 2 dates either. So at this point, we don't have a date.
Councillor Ender, I wonder if that the mayor being advisory only and not a voting
Sure.
member, helpful. I mean, you know, would change your point of view, because I really don't want to lose you. That was not my intention.
I'm happy to step aside.
Well, maybe
If
nobody
if
wants you to step
feel-
down.
If you feel that
Um,
that she should be on the committee, I'm happy to step aside. I have no qualms about that, none whatsoever.
Yeah, I have to say, Councillor Rando, you know, we work as a council. What I'd like to do is maybe suggest a tabling motion, because we work as a council and we work together, and I'm quite, I would say, concerned that council has different views on many things, but I would suggest that we need to work as a council for the best interest of the community all the time. So that would be my thing, and maybe to table.
Be happy to
motion.
table a motion till next council
Yeah,
meeting.
could we?
I would
And
too.
if we could, the tabling motion just
And-
requires a
and leave it as-
seconder and doesn't allow for any discussion.
Just to close this off, Madam Mayor, the mayor, as Councillor Ronsley said, has got significant infrastructure knowledge over 6 terms as an elected official, and the mayor is de facto included in membership in all other committees in the village. This would be the outlier and seems odd.
Yeah, it seems political. So I just want to say, okay, we've got a resolution to table the motion. Do I have a seconder? Call question on the tabling motion. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Carried unanimously. If we can move along to resolution 9D, which is the DLO contract. If we can have council move and second. The Committee of the Whole Council recommends that the Village of Lions Bay Council at its regular meeting award the Village Office Move Project DLO to accommodate the repairs of the Community Centre and Village Office at a cost of $9,000, with the understanding that certain identified areas are excluded from the quote. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Rando, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion?
Well, Madam Mayor, just to put this into context, I think this is
Yeah, thank you.
very wonderful news for, I think, the community. We are moving forward with the community center, and we have looked at how to move this forward as expeditiously as possible. And so if you pass this resolution tonight, we will be able to bring forward a company to assist us to move. They aren't going to move us totally. But as we recognize, we are looking at moving into the, or the decision has been made to move the village office into the Clack building. We will have a trailer, a temporary trailer, located on the fire hall site. That staff will be in there to take information from the public. We'll be able to take taxes and be able to answer public inquiries. And then the rest of the staff will be upstairs in the Clack building. As you can recognize, those are pretty steep stairs, and so for us to move a lot of that furniture and those fireproof filing cabinets is going to be pretty heavy. So very pleased to move this forward, and I think the sooner we move this, the sooner the new community center will be open to the public.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Sorry. Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the motion for the committee of the whole recommends that the Village of Lions Bay Council at its regular meeting award the community hall roofing and seismic upgrade project as tendered to DMC at a cost of $166,200. Could I have somebody move and second?
What do we need to do here?
I think we should have a discussion on this.
What's that?
You can move it second and then always make an amendment if you wish.
Yeah.
Well, we need to proceed, so I'll move forward.
Okay. And a seconder?
Got a mosquito here. Mosquito in your hair.
What's going on?
It's gone. Okay.
Okay, I'll move forward so we can do something about this. Okay?
Okay.
If I could have a seconder on, okay, thank you, Councillor Ronsley. Discussion.
Sure.
Councillor McLaughlin?
As I understand the numbers here, the differential between an upgraded roof and the secondary choice is about $7,000. The upgrade is cosmetic. And to me, the choices are either the number that's quoted here or $159,000, which is the secondary substance for the roof.
Yeah. Well, if I can just correct what from my perspective, what you're saying is that the mansard roof currently has shakes on it, so it's not an upgrade to replace the shakes. It would be to be consistent with what's there versus a lower cost of asphalt shingles. So it's not the asphalt, the shakes aren't an upgrade, they're a replacement. Just Councillor Ando?
I'm wondering about the community hall roofing, whether that includes both buildings. Is it the village hall and the village office, or is it just, I'm not sure what community hall is, so if someone could clarify that for me, it would be much easier for me to understand what we're trying to resolve.
Okay. Through you, Madam Mayor, it's both. It's the complete roof.
Thank you.
Yeah, the complete roof, including the mansard roof, so, and the replacement of the plywood to create seismic security. Councillor Bain?
Further to it, Councillor McLaughlin is referring to the difference in cost, the 159 versus the 166.2. The difference being a lower cost option being the 159, and as the November 5th resolution stipulated, we will build this building, or we will fix this building at the least cost option. For that reason, I'm more in favor of the 159,000 than the 166.2. So I would prefer that we had a choice on it in this resolution somehow.
For the same reasons I am too.
Councillor Ando?
I'll move to amend the motion from 166,200 to 159. Seconder to my motion.
Okay. Discussion on that motion? I'll maybe discuss that motion. I wish to speak against the motion and be recorded as against the motion because it is downgrading the facility versus replacing the mansard roof, and that my core belief is that it actually downgrades the value of each and every residence property in Lions Bay by doing this, that we're a public building, and that we should be at least replacing the facility for this $7,000, which can be found elsewhere in the project, and we've just committed $9,000 to moving. So it is, I think, to our benefit and to the municipality's benefit. It's not one of those things that we can do later. We do it once now, and other things that we can set aside and do later. We can set aside machinery to buy and do later, but to downgrade the quality of the roofing that we have, which is a visual component of the building, with a mansard roof. A huge component of the building is the mansard roof, and to move it to shakes, for the record, I consider this something that is going to cost community members tremendously, and the vision of the community. So I speak against moving in this direction. And yes, Councillor.
I think we learned, all of us, that the function of the asphalt roof is the same as the shake roof, as far as durability and age limitation. Both are worth 30 years as far as function. So we're talking about, as I understand it, an aesthetic, which is important in the village and to all of us, and a visual, the visual component. And that visual component, Mr. Radu, would cost us how much more? In the difference being $7,000, amortized over a 30-year period. I mean, we all face all these kinds of decisions all the time in our daily, and not daily, thank goodness, but I think that's where we're at, and I think, I don't know, but it was suggested that there may be other savings to not on the aesthetic, but on the actual costs involved. That could factor into our ultimate costs for all that we're going to do. So I guess in that regard, I'm very uncertain, because I don't spend money that isn't mine as easily as I spend my own. And I'm a bit on the fence here. I have to admit that. We're talking about $7,000 over 30 years, and it's true that we don't get a chance to change our mind. Once it's up, and we want it to stay up for 30 years for sure, whatever we put there. But I think we better think too in terms of, it's been suggested that there are possible savings down the road that we don't know we're going to be faced with as we go forward in the project. My thoughts. I don't know how to vote, frankly. I have to think.
I think we've achieved some savings with the kitchen pricing. Honestly, anyway, I implore you to spend that $7,000. We'd be spending how much on that pony wall up at that? I don't see it as significant, but the impact on the community I see as very significant. I'm sorry that council, after all the work that we've done on this. If there's no other comment, call question on the motion. All those in favor?
Are you questioning the amendment?
I'm sorry, that it's on the amendment to the
159.
motion. Yeah, the 159.
I guess I have to go with that.
Okay. Opposed? Motion carries, and so go to the main motion, which is the amended 159. So the Committee of the Whole Council, if I can register my vote in opposition. If we can go to the main motion, the Committee of the Whole Council recommends that the Village of Lions Bay Council at its regular meeting award the Community Hall roofing and seismic upgrade project as tendered to DMC at a cost of $159,000. Could I call question, any discussion? Call question on the motion, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, if we can move along then to bylaw 469, sewer user rates amendment. Move adoption. Could I have somebody move in second, please? Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion, or there's no discussion, call question on the motion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Bylaw 470, sewer parcel tax amendment. Move adoption. Councillor Ando and Councillor Ronsley. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go to bylaw 471, water parcel tax amendment. Move adoption. Councillor Bain and Councillor McLaughlin. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go to bylaw 472, tax rates. Move first reading. Could I have council move in second? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Call question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go to second reading, bylaw 472, tax rates. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bain and Councillor McLaughlin. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go to bylaw 473, 5-year financial plan, move first reading. Councillor McLaughlin, Councillor Ronsley. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. We can go to bylaw 473, 5-year plan, move second reading. Councillor Bain, Councillor Ando, all those, any discussion?
Question.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin brought up an item in the COTW. Is that going to get incorporated? Or what's going to happen with that? We have a discussion of it.
It's not shown here, it's part of the capital plan.
So it's not part of this, so we don't need to. Thank you. It's been resolved. Thank you.
Resolved.
It's been resolved in what manner? I'm sorry. I'll call question.
Councillor Ando was asking about a capital expenditure, which this is not part of.
Okay, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Correspondence. Could I have somebody move receipt and second the correspondence list? Thank you, Councillor Green. And Councillor Ando. All those in favor of receipt? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Any particular ones of note that you wish to pull out? Yes, Councillor Bain.
The fifth one of the external, if I can just find it in this great stack, I got a note on it.
What page number is it?
I'm not sure. Doesn't have the pages. It's the City of Vancouver rechanges to the BC Ambulance Services.
Page
Oh,
163.
Yeah.
163. I was curious about this, is that the City of Vancouver is questioning the reallocation of services to, of ambulance service to the community. And it seemed to me about a year ago that we see less and less of our ambulances in Lions Bay. And sometimes you wonder if it's perception and sometimes not. So I've got a phone call into the unit chief, Sherman Hillier, Unfortunately, I haven't heard back from, and I'd like to get their take on it.
Great.
But it seems to me that, and I'd like him to be able to confirm my concerns, is that I believe we have an erosion of local service here, and I think a lot of our ambulance cars are ending up on the North Shore, and very rarely, well, not rarely, they'll start off here, but they spend most of their day not only on the North Shore, but in Burnaby and in Vancouver. And I think Vancouver is feeling the same pull. Wherever the greatest need, the greatest number of ambulances go. And so I think we're getting a more limited resource than we had a year ago. And I would like the ambulance unit chief to give us some input on that. So as soon as I hear back from him, I shall share with all of you what I hear.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other correspondence? The only couple that I see is How Sound Community Forum is May 2nd, and it's actually in West Vancouver, whatever the letter says, it's now in West Vancouver at Glen Eagles. And number 2 on the incoming National Health and Fitness Day, if we can let that resident know that Council did resolve, pass a resolution to make National Health and Fitness Day in Lions Bay the first Saturday of June, and I think we might even be the first municipality to resolve that. So if there's no other correspondence, anything?
Madam Mayor, the only other one that was coming is you received a letter inviting staff regarding the new waste energy capacity for Metro Vancouver. And that meeting's actually going to take place on April 30th. And so they're having a number of public meetings throughout Metro and at different times. But this particular one is going to be on April 30th, so I'll report back on.
Could you?
On
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. If we can go to new business, and that again came up maybe last meeting, and just asked that this come forward as Volunteer Appreciation Week was last week, and Emergency Preparedness Week I think is the first week of May. But just looking at a date for a celebration in Lions Bay, and maybe that needs to be moved further down the road now that we know that staff are moving at that time. It just seems like a very congested time. And so with council's permission, perhaps put that on to the next meeting. Would that be okay? Yeah, just because of that congestion, if we can. And then just move to public questions and comments. Yes, Ms. Conlon?
I have spent a lot of time in this gallery listening to various things. And over the years, I've heard a lot of talk about this infrastructure master plan. I've seen staff come in with a piece of paper. I've seen the mayor say this thing doesn't exist. I've seen people work on a new one. I heard again tonight that there's some more talk about an infrastructure master plan. So I have basically 2 questions. For Councillor Ando, in 2005 of June, this village won a UBCM award for its infrastructure master plan, which cost us $108,000 and included a GIS, graphic information system, for sewers, waters, and roads. Does your committee have it? Have you seen it? Does it exist? This is in the public domain.
I've seen a number of documents that make up for payments of $107,000 or $108,000.
And the graphic information system is working? The roads, the waters, the sewers, you are able to see that?
That part I don't know very much about, so I would leave that to staff to answer.
Okay.
I can only tell you what little I know about it was that we've had summer students, maybe not last year, but the year before.
No, but there was a
that
gentleman who was the project manager, and he is now working in Surrey.
So
He was your project manager for
I'm afraid I don't
$108,000.
know anything.
Okay, so that's the first part about that. And then the second question is directed to the mayor. You have considerable knowledge, as alluded by Councillor Ronsley. Does the mayor know where this 2005 master plan is?
You know, I don't know where it is, but when...
When did last anybody see it?
I think in our last council, Councillor Akerhelm, there was in fact one done. And Councillor Akerhelm reviewed, as you may or may not know, reviewed it completely. And so we haven't been working without a plan at all, Ms.
But where
Conlon.
is that plan? Where is the
Just a
plan?
I do not know where it is at this time. Staff have attempted to find the plan. So I agree with you. It's why, I'd like to, and then last year, as you may recall, following the paper that was sent out by your group to the community, Mr. Saba and staff spent considerable time researching that document.
They didn't
and-
find it.
No, they researched the document and came up with the information that then was
But
published
where is the
that spring.
document that we paid $108,000
I'm
for, that we
in-
won a UBCM award,
I,
and that we have a graphic information system?
I can
Does
only,
no one
I
in
can
this
only
council, no
fully
one in this
agree-
office know where it is?
that's correct, and that's where my interest in helping the information that's on the table along, because I would like to see the document as well. I certainly,
Well, the project manager most certainly exists. He's working, he's alive, he's well in Surrey. I imagine, like most project managers, he keeps his records for at least 7 years. If you get him soon, you might get it before he destroys it. But if you don't have it, I most certainly think that is something you should be looking at. And then the information that you know since that time that you've been fixing and doing, most certainly before you look at spending another $108,000.
yes, I'm in
And
full.
it's in the public domain. I mean, I'm not smart, I know it exists. I sit here, I listen, I see it, and somebody's gotta know where it is.
Okay, so you've addressed to the mayor, I would say I'm in full agreement with you.
But you don't have it, and Scott Andrew does.
I do not have it, and some of the documents that I've seen, I don't mean circulate amongst the committee because I haven't seen those, but that I
Well,
have,
when we find
that I
it,
have
I'd
seen
like to
are
know.
not accurate, and so so we want to make sure that all the information that comes forward is accurate, and that we were working with that plan, and Mr. Zaba and staff researched that plan extensively just about 13 or 14 short months ago. So as you can imagine, we all join with that concern that this isn't a time to. There was a laudable plan. We've been working with that plan. The projects that we have worked on have not come out of thin air, in fact. They've been completely in concert with that plan. So I want to assure the public of that. And I'm as curious as anybody about where that plan is. Thank you. If you could let us know who the project manager was.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much.
That was my question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. If we can move along then to the in-camera component.
Hang on, can I have a few words?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Henshaw.
Well, my thing was the guy that came and gave you that presentation, right? My feeling was if you can encourage people in the village to recycle their own waste, make their own compost, I know everybody's not going to do this, but it's going to save you some money and really make an encouragement. So that would be my task. And also, when he's taking all this stuff away and charging quite an amount of money, he's then selling it. So whatever he's taking out of that, I mean, my advocation with the waste wood was to try and get somebody to come, or somebody in the village to take care of that and then recycle it, so that you don't have the burning, and you may be able to make some money out of that. I know you're not a business oriented in that situation of all those areas, but it's ideas. If you want sustainability, that's what you have to do. You have to try and sustain what you've got and make the soil. So that would be my take on that one. My other thing that I picked up was when this lady and this gentleman were talking about the trees. He mentioned there that the Ministry of Transportation is going to come and chop down again along the highway, right? This was some indication I got. Now, what my concern is the problem we had last year when they took all those trees out. Now, we gave us some other trees back, which okay, but that didn't do us as well as the trees that they've taken out. So I'm wondering if there's some way we can find out what they're going to take away this time, if possible, and then say, okay, no, we don't want that to go, or yes, we do, or something. I mean,
How about if we put that into staff's capable hands? Is that okay?
And there was one further thing, I mean, that lady said all the residual falling on the ground and you can't replant. But that's the way the forest works, things fall down, things get stuck in there. I mean, if she was really upset about the trees, why don't they get some young trees, plant them in the middle of it and away you go? I know it's a long-term proposition, but she seems to have a real issue with all those trees that are gone. So, you know, erosion, you put more trees back in there. I mean, that would be my take on the situation. Okay, I'll have my 3 cents.
Thank
That's
you
it.
very much. Okay, if I may move the resolution, have council move the resolution that the regular meeting of April 15th, 2014, does close this meeting to the public on the basis of matters to be considered under the following section of the Community Charter. 91, a part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one or more of the following. A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. C, labor relations or other employee relations. K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Bain and Councillor McLaughlin. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much to the gallery for attending this evening. Pardon me?
I'm opposed.
I'm sorry.
Opposed.
And Councillor Ando is opposed. Carried unanimously, and if we can go to the adjournment. Nothing to report out, so the adjournment, Councillor Ronsley and Councillor McLaughlin. All those in favour of adjournment? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much.